All right, everybody. I am so glad that you guys hung around. I am so sorry that that took so long. We will get this completely figured out for next time. But let's go ahead and get started. A little bit about me. My name is Prairie Conlon. I'm a licensed mental health therapist. I utilize animal-assisted interventions pretty much in all walks of my mental health practice. I received a master's degree in professional counseling and a post-grad degree in military behavioral health counseling. I'm also certified as an equine-assisted psychotherapist. I presented at national conferences on techniques for providing equine therapy for military members and their families, with special emphasis on transitioning from the military back to civilian life. I currently contract with the Lone Survivor Foundation as an equine therapist. And then I also work with CertaPet as a clinical therapist and manager, and really passionate about emotional support animals as a means of finding hope and healing. I was recently featured on Military Makeover for my work as the founder and developer of emotional support animal assisted therapy. And then coming up, I'll be featured in a documentary about emotional support animals. It should be released by The Guardian. So we're excited to see how that turns out. So we're going to jump right in. Thanks everybody for joining. We'd love for you to subscribe to this channel. Follow us on social media to stay up to date. And when we host events like these, then you can see, and we will obviously be able to jump right in next time. So let's get right to it and move into the questions that you guys may have. I'll only be answering questions that are related to emotional support animals. You can pop your question into the chat on the right-hand side. Don't be afraid to ask the hard questions. This is for everybody. This is for ESA owners, landlords, law firms, prospective ESA owners, therapy dog owners, support dog owners. Everybody's welcome, and I'm anxious to hear from you all. So go ahead with the questions. So if we don't have any questions right away, just to kind of get everybody started, a big thing that we hear is, what is the difference between an emotional support animal? What's the difference between a therapy dog and a service animal? So an emotional support animal is obviously very different than a service animal. They do not have the same privileges. They don't have the same rights as a service animal. They are only allowed in housing. They can be allowed in housing without rent, and they can go on an airplane with you without any fees. This is going to be prescribed to you by a mental health professional or a doctor. A therapy dog is going to be a dog that is in office with a clinician. So I actually have a therapy dog. So when I have clients in my office, my therapy dog, Tobias, is a giant schnauzer, and he comes in and he helps provide comfort to people while we go through sessions. Okay. I just saw a question. How does someone know whether or not an ESA will help them? So just like any kind of therapeutic modality, an emotional support animal isn't for everyone. Now, if you are struggling with mental illness and you're noticing that having an animal is helping you, something that you've always loved and found enjoyment in, it can definitely help, especially with, let's talk about a little bit depressive symptoms. If you have depressive symptoms, there's that battle. I do not want to get out of bed in the morning. I don't have a lot of motivation. Your dog being there in the morning can be all the motivation that you need to get up, because sometimes just that routine and that purpose and that animal, especially eyeballing you from the side of the bed, asking you to get up, that can be huge in helping you to combat the depressive symptoms. So what kind of animal can be an ESA? So our policy at CertaPet is dogs, cats, and rabbits. The biggest reason that we have that is just because of zoning and health issues and public safety. However, we do not discredit for 1 second that there is emotional support that can come from any kind of an animal. But again, at CertaPet, we only do dogs, cats, and rabbits just due to zoning issues and everything. But everybody can, find benefit in. We had a lady that expressed how much enjoyment she got out of watching the hummingbirds that she had feeders for outside of her condo. So there's definitely, a piece of that emotional support to that. But again, only cats, dogs, and rabbits from CertaPet. All right, I see another question. Do you have to be a certain age to have an ESA? Absolutely not. You can be of any age. With CertaPet, because it is telehealth, we like to stick to 18 or older, because with online therapy services, it can be pretty difficult to verify and make sure that you have the ability to treat somebody. Their parent or guardian has to sign off on that. So with telehealth, and in which CertaPet is telehealth, it's really hard for us to go ahead and certify somebody. But any age can benefit. If you are under the age of 18 and you think that you could benefit from an emotional support animal, talk to your pediatrician, your doctor, mental health therapist. Absolutely, we have seen the benefit for children. It's really great for responsibility and also for anxiousness and just kind of a healthy focal point. I see another question. Can I bring my ESA to my new apartment even if it has a no pets policy? Absolutely. If you have an authentic emotional support animal letter that was written for you by your mental health professional or a psychiatrist or your primary care physician, you can absolutely have your animal there. If you encounter difficulty with your landlord, you can always refer them to our landlord page. We have a landlord policy page that kind of gives them a little bit more information and lets them know these are the rights that they have and these are the rights that the client has. But absolutely, you can bring your animal. We're always going to be respectful in places. As always, anywhere, make sure to pick up after your animal. And of course, the one thing that a lot of people don't understand is if you're living in an apartment and your animal does cause damage, regardless of the fact that it's an emotional support animal, you're still going to pay for the damages, but you aren't going to pay for pet rent and you're not going to pay for a pet deposit. Okay. I see another question. So when I get my ESA letter from my therapist that CertaPet matches me with, will it say CertaPet on it? No, it won't, because basically CertaPet is just an online telehealth platform. We have therapists that are specially trained in online therapy and animal-assisted therapy. And so all that CertaPet is a telehealth company that matches you with a therapist that's licensed in your state. So once you are transferred to that therapist, that's who you will be continuing to work with throughout the years. I've had some clients for almost 3 to 4 years through CertaPet, but the letter will not say CertaPet. It will have their heading. So you're not going to have that CertaPet claimer on it. It's going to be everything that has to do with your clinician. So the heading will have, mine has Prairie Conlon Mental Health Services, LLC. All right. So will my therapist say they are from Texas? So if whatever therapist you have through CertaPet is going to be matched to you by state. So if you are in the state of Texas, your therapist will be clinically licensed in Texas. And so they might not necessarily be from Texas, but they will have an active license in Texas that can be looked up by you and your landlord. All right. So my son is autistic. His dog is absolutely the only thing that can calm him down when he is getting worked up. Would that be in line with what an emotional support animal is? Absolutely. Absolutely. That is a population that I have seen emotional support animals work wonders for. Animals are so grounding. And especially if you're saying to me, that's the only thing that calms him down, you absolutely need to talk to your doctor or clinician that you're working with. Let them know that. If they're not willing to work with you or write an ESA letter, reach out, one thing that I absolutely love to do is try to get you advocacy services in wherever you're at. Or if somebody says to me, look, I'm in a state that I'm not licensed in, and I really want this for my child, we would be more than happy to, at CertaPet, to help you find somebody that can do that for you. But if that's the thing that calms your child down, what a natural, wonderful thing. That's amazing. I love that. And, reach out for sure if you're unable to get anything done with your doctors or clinicians for your son. That's pretty cool. All right, let me see. Oh, here's another question. Can I bring my ESA to restaurants with me? So unfortunately, no. Service animals can go into restaurants. But an emotional support animal cannot go into a restaurant unless it's pet friendly. You can always ask. I really don't like it if people go ahead and take their animal into the restaurant and then ask. I think it's probably just a little bit more respectful to wait on the outside. And if they say sure, then that's great. If not, then it is a pet friendly policy. But service dogs can go into restaurants. All right. Any other questions right now? Let's see if I missed any. These are great questions, guys. Keep them coming. So I have a question. Is it important our animals have a tag that says ESA? That's a great question. So our animals, the only thing legally required to have an emotional support animal is a letter from your clinician. You are absolutely entitled to have a badge and a vest. Those are sold through CertaPet, but those are absolutely personal preference. A lot of times people like to have that, especially when they go through the airport. They like to have that because it feels a little bit better knowing that they don't have to explain what their dog is or what their dog is doing there. So you can absolutely have a vest, but the only thing that is required by law is to have the letter. Okay, you mean, do you have to carry your, yes, definitely keep the letter with you. If you're going to be traveling, keep the letter with you, and any other additional paperwork that the airline might need. A big thing that we are seeing is that airlines are doing double verification. That is because there has been a lot of fraud lately, but obviously through your clinician at CertaPet, we're real clinicians, and we're more than happy to work with you with those letters. But make sure that you have everything that you need. Some of them are also requiring veterinarian forms to be filled out as well. But as far as having your letter with you at home or in your apartment complex, you can have the letter there, but having the letter on you at all times isn't necessary if you're going into public places, because you're obviously not able to take your dog to public places, if that makes sense. Yeah, so keeping your letter on you, when you have your dog with you is important. All right. So my landlord told me they want a doctor and an ESA letter from my therapist. Is this true? So I'm assuming that you're asking that your doctor or your landlord told you that you needed a letter from your therapist and from your doctor. That's absolutely not true. You can have a letter from your doctor, or you can have a letter from your therapist. Either one of those will suffice, as either one of those can diagnose. So you only need to have one. Okay. Do CertaPet therapists do counseling sessions? Absolutely. So they're all licensed mental health professionals. They are more than happy to work with you further. They do regular check-ins with you. If you are a client of theirs, then they're available to you for additional sessions if needed, or can get you the references that you need. So yeah, absolutely. Okay. Do I need to register my emotional support dog in a database? This is one of the myths that is catching everybody off guard. There are a lot of websites that are just basically looking to take your money. I've seen the National Emotional Support Animal Registry, the Service Dog Registry. Anybody that has an emotional support animal or an ESA, all they need, again, legally, is a letter from their therapist or their doctor that says that the animal is an ESA, but there's no registration that's required at all. So if you ever hear that, somebody's saying that, you need to have them check their facts. All right. Can pit bulls be ESAs? Yeah, absolutely. A pit bull can be an ESA. There, through the Fair Housing Act, there is no restrictions on breed, on size, on the age of the dog, and on the training of the dog, because training is not required for an emotional support animal since they're not going to be allowed out into public places. So let me see. Any kind of dog can be, but the thing is what is always required is for them to be appropriately and well behaved. If they're not appropriately and well behaved, if they ever lunge on the leash or do anything like that, if they were for some reason classified as an emotional support animal, that status will be voided. But an emotional support animal can be any of the breeds of the dogs. You just have to have certification that the animal is not going to be aggressive. So what do I do if my landlord won't accept the letter? That's a big question that I get a lot. There's always a lot of fear about that. The majority of the time, there's not an issue. Every once in a while that we run into that. The very first thing that you need to do is reach out to your therapist. And that's why I highly recommend CertaPet therapists. We're very, very trained in emotional support animal laws, what the Fair Housing Act is, and how to deal with this. The majority of the time that we have a landlord that will not accept the letter is because they don't understand what's going on. And a lot of times all they need is a simple explanation. And so we don't ever get up in arms with them. We don't get upset. We just let them know, hey, this is what's going on. And here's some laws. And a lot of times it's very, very easily solved. And so that's why you absolutely need to reach out to your therapist or doctor if you have an issue with that. And like I said, that's why I highly recommend working with a CertaPet therapist, just because we're all very, very trained up on everything in the emotional support animal world. And we know how to support you and how to help educate people. Okay. If you live in an apartment complex and you already have 2 dogs, can you have any more ESAs? I'm going to have someone stay with me that has an ESA. Okay. Trying to make sure that I understand that. If you live in an apartment and you already have 2 dogs, are the 2 dogs emotional support dogs? I guess would be my question back to you. And can you have anybody stay with you? I'm trying to understand like how many ESAs are in there. Okay. Yeah, if you could give me just a little bit more context on that question, that would be great. And then I'll answer this question first and come back to it. So it sounds like there is a landlady that's being really stubborn and awful. The thing that you can do is you can refer them to our CertaPet blog site. We have a landlord site that lets them know a little bit more information. If they're being stubborn about it and everything, again, reach out to your therapist, reach out to the person that wrote that letter. They should have knowledge on how to address it. That would just be by giving them the information that we talked about. And also you could send them to that website. Emily, if you could actually drop the link to that website in there, that would be great. So they can see that, because it's a landlord resource page. Okay. Now let me get back. So you have a friend that's living with you that has a support dog. Can the landlord deny you? Is that what you're asking? Okay. If you have a really in-depth question, what we can do is if you want to email it to ask@CertaPet.com, that way we can definitely address some of these things. It sounds like there's kind of a complicated situation. So we can absolutely help you with that. Just email us the situation at ask@CertaPet.com. And, if I need to, I could even jump on a phone call. So make sure, Chris, that you send that in. That would be great. Okay. All right. So another question, will the letter tell my landlord about my diagnosis? Absolutely not. So per the Fair Housing Act, what they're wanting to know is if you have a major life activity that is impacted by a psychological symptom. And so what we're going to say is use some general language that says this is substantially limited, maybe sleeping, maybe ability to work or ability to concentrate. And once we, determine what that major life activity is that's impacted, we find out how the animal can help mitigate those symptoms. But your letter is not going to have your diagnosis. And on top of that, your landlord or anybody in TSA or at the airline should never ask. That's actually an illegal question for them to ask about your diagnosis. All right. Any other questions? All right. So I want to thank everybody again for tuning in. If you do have further questions, again, email us at ask@CertaPet.com. You can also check out our blog section of CertaPet for a lot of helpful information. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and follow us on social media so you can receive updates on any news and tips relating to ESAs. And, I hope to see you guys again. And, oh, all right. Like I said, definitely reach out with any additional questions. Hopefully we're going to be doing this again and there won't be a delay. Thank you all so much. And please reach out.